recording as well. So thank you for joining us again for this town hall, and let's get started with the things that are happening at IACET. The first thing I wanted to do is to show you and allow you to access our strategic plan. From now on, we have a new website area that once you log in to IACET.org, you can click, and I'm going to show you the zoomed in feature here, and let me bring this, and you can zoom in and you'll see now, for those of you who are members only documents. And these members only documents will have the bylaws, the policies and procedures, our strategic plan. This is a very important document, and what we wanted to do is to make this available to you, to put this at your fingertips at any time. You log into IACET.org, click on members only documents, and you can review that strategic plan. A very, very important document. If you want to know what's happening at IACET, or what our strategic, usually this document was created last year, and we want to make sure that everyone is on the same page when it comes to the strategic plan. This is a document that's been approved by the board. We're going to evaluate our progress on this strategic plan in March. And if there's something that you see that should be in there or better defined, we'd love to hear from you with your recommendations. But if you want to know what IACET strategic initiatives are, we don't operate in a vacuum. These are board directives that have been provided to us, and we would encourage you to look at that. We can't go into it today because we don't have time during the session, but we wanted to at least show you where you can get this information. If you would like a view also, we just posted, we had submitted this to the executive committee a few weeks ago, but we just finished a 2016 annual report. As many of you know, nonprofits will often develop an annual report to communicate and to kind of take a benchmark of what they've done in the last year. So if you're interested in statistics, if you're interested in the numbers of providers we've accredited and so on and so forth, along with a lot of other demographic information about our membership, some of our committee accomplishments, I would highly encourage you to look at the 2016 annual report. Of course, if you have questions on the annual report, you're free to ask us at any time. So keep those resources in mind, and over time, even meetings like this will be links to the YouTube videos will be posted here, so you will have access from your phone or from your iPad or from your computer at any time you would like to go and get an update on what's happening at IACET. So there again, click on members only documents and you'll hit that page, and again, that's only accessible to you as members. Let's go over a very, very important item here on our agenda today, which is our work calendar. This is kind of going to outline our entire year and well into next year this time. This is going to be a difficult year because there is so much to do. Nevertheless, we have a plan, and our committees and our chairs, especially of our major work groups, are in tune, and I really appreciate Dan and Stuart and Lori who support a tough calendar. Well, let's go over it. In March 10th, the board will meet in the Washington, D.C. area. We've already gotten that meeting, and we will have an agenda to accomplish. But in addition, we're also going to look and examine essentially a 2018 draft of an ANSI standard. Now, that does not mean that the board is going to approve the standard there. The board actually won't approve the standard until the next September. But this is more of a benchmark. This is more of a, yes, we're done with the first draft, and then they'll have the rest of the year to work on finalizing those that standard for 2018. So things will go well there. On the 11th, the day after the board will also decide if there's anything new that they are, or something that the council should do with the standard, make any final suggestions as they make their last push to finalize to the 2018 edition. On March 11th, the day after, for the first time in quite some time, the council will meet in D.C. as well. and this will be a face-to-face meeting. And the board approved financial expenditure to support our council in meeting in Washington to finish that important work. So that will be, I will be at that meeting, as well as Stuart and all the council members, and probably Lori as well. So we'll look forward to that time as we finalize the 2018 standard. In April, May, and June, we're going to be working on we'll have a draft of the standard. It doesn't mean it'll be the final version, but we'll have a draft that we can essentially, they'll probably be about 80%, maybe even 90% complete. So at that time, we're going to start work on a new application revision, and we're also going to look at a new reaccreditation process or application. Dan has been talking with some commissioners about serving on task forces to help with those things. If you're interested in serving on a task force that's going to work on the new application and work on new reaccreditation procedures, that would feel free to chat with him, and because I'm going to be getting with him very, very soon to start work with that group. It really can't happen soon enough. So April, May, June, we'll be working on that. July and August, we will have by then a complete new application draft and a reaccreditation application draft. This will give us plenty of time to make the changes that we're going to need on the backside to do that, to maybe perhaps do notifications on what's coming when. So that will facilitate that. On September 28th and 29th, keep in mind this will be our annual award ceremony, board, and commission meeting. Keep in mind, all of you need to know this, is that for those of you who will be attending, this is a week later than we normally do it. We had some conflicts on the typical week that we do it, and so it was requested of us, and we opined that we would make this meeting on the 28th and the 29th, so please mark your calendars for that day. 28th, 29th, and I think, right, 28th and 29th, and I think the 30th is the commission meeting. Yes, the 30th would be the Saturday that we normally meet for the half day. So that will, if you want to mark your calendar for that now, it'll be of great help. And then January 2018, we're going to launch upgraded accreditation management system associated applications. But we will have well prepared all of you way prior to January. So keep in mind that we want to make this calendar simple, but all of you will be notified and given procedures on how things are going to work. We're also going to be working with the commission and perhaps a task force, and very closely with Dan and their executive committee on that new accreditation management system that is going to be very, very good. You will love it, I promise. I'll give you my word that it will make your life so much easier, and ours as well, and it's going to take us to new places. So that's a description of our work calendar, and it's good that we're all on the same page as we proceed through. Again, if you're interested in working on any of those groups, whether it be the new application task force or the reaccreditation task force, I don't know, Dan, maybe they can be the same task force. I don't know. I think you can work that out. But we'll look forward to getting to work on that. Any questions on the work calendar before we proceed to badging? Any final questions? Any questions there? A hand up or any questions? Give you about 5 seconds before we decide to move on. Great. All right, and if you do, feel free to go ahead and type them in, and I'll get back to them as soon as we pause again in the presentation in just a few minutes. Next is our badging program. A lot of you have expressed interest in this, and I'm happy to report we made some great progress. Last year, I'm very grateful, as is Lori is grateful, to our badging task force. We laid a foundation, and we laid a foundation for a badging standard. We also were put in touch with a first-class consultant who is able to take us where we need to go. And he submitted a proposal that the board of directors accepted. And here is the crux of the proposal that we have engaged him on. Dr. James Willis, he is, I've shown you his photo. He's up here in the top right of your page. Dr. James Willis, I won't give you all his criteria, but he is an expert in badging. We came to know him as he attended our badging task force meetings, and he impressed us so greatly with his knowledge in badging that the board chose to hire him to do these three things. Number one, finish our standard and refine it in light of professional badging practice. That means he got in touch with 5 individuals who are world-class badging experts. And I've got their pictures and their names here. One's from Berlin, one's from Perth, Australia, one's from Silicon Valley, and all over. Very impressive people who are at the top of their game in the world of badging. So he used them. They're a research advisory task force that we formed. Those people have just essentially advised us on what they think we need to do to make sure that this badging standard is acceptable and integrates with the existing world of badging. And so James was contracted to finish the standard. He has done so with the help of those 5 individuals. And now IACET also has a badging task force for this year, and the badging committee, badging task force. And the badging task force, their role will be to support and advise on this new standard. Now, if any of you are interested in the standard in the handouts area of this presentation, I have given you the draft. It says V3 IACET Badging Standard Draft. You can download that badging standard and you can see the results of the work of last year's task force and Dr. Willis. The second thing Dr. Willis will do is write a white paper supporting the need of the standard. And that's what he is working on as we speak. And then third, he will essentially draft plans with me and with the executive committee and ultimately the board on creating a self-sustaining business model for an IACET badging accreditation program. So that is exciting news. That work is well underway. I can tell you of all the things that we have going, I've been most impressed with Dr. Willis, the team he put together, and we're also grateful for a new badging task force this year of IACET members who will take this forward. So there again, you can take a look at the badging standard in the handouts area here. If you have any questions or would like to provide comments, we'd like to hear them. Any questions on badging before we move? All right. The Distance Education Resource Guide. This is very, very important to the work a lot of you do. In short, we have pivoted the strategy on this just a little bit. We have essentially authored a guide that interprets the IACET standard and provides guidance for providers who offer distance learning courses. And it's a guidance against our standard. So in other words, we try to take the IACET standard and apply it to different distance learning environments. If you want to read a draft, it's about 30, 35 pages. If you would like to read a draft of that, that draft is included in your handouts area. One of the ways we pivoted on this, and I talked to the chair, board member Jackie Bissett, I talked with her yesterday, we will be publishing this as a standalone guide. And then when we have a few modifications, this is a draft. It hasn't even been really drafted or grammar or art or anything like that yet. So we hope to have that finished post-haste. We ran into some delays with health concerns of some of the people who are working on this. And so we're behind about a month or two on this. But nevertheless, this will go live as soon as we can make it. Then the Distance Learning Task Force that was formed last year, we will be creating. Somebody said they can't hear anything that I'm saying. Should they call back in? I would say yes. All of my network indications are good and solid in quality, and we haven't heard that from anybody else. So you may want to dial back in or go to the phone or something like that. Okay, yeah, and others say they can hear fine. Thank you for letting us know that. It's hard to know what's happening here behind the scenes. So if you want to read the Distance Learning Resource Guide, please go ahead and you can look at that. I would love to hear from you. It's already been vetted. The council has already received a copy. Dan has received a copy. The commission at large has not. So this will be new to you here at the commission. We want to hear, and now we try to stay away from I think it'll be very, very interesting for the council, the commission members especially, to read that document and see if there is anything in there that doesn't set right with you, or that perhaps presents an IACET position that is not what you thought it was. That is going to be really what we need you to do, is to glance through that, take a look, and see if there's something in there, because this is really what we want to provide, again, is the guidance that providers have toward creating quality distance learning programs and facilitating them. So keep that in mind. There will be some additional changes to that, and we look forward to anyone who would have any additional comment or contribution. We'd love to hear from you. So then the task force has some blog articles that are ready to go on trends in distance learning, like virtual reality, microlearning, a number of different distance learning issues, verification of student identity, authentic assessment, all different types of things that they will create blog articles on that will keep the content active and keep people interested in the topic of distance learning and lead them toward this new resource that we have. So it's a kind of a partnership. We were going to publish all that in one resource, in one book, and we decided not to do that. We decided to focus on what we're real good at, and then use the blog articles on distance education trends as blog articles to promote the resource that people will purchase, which will be the Distance Education Learning Guide. All right. Any questions? Any questions on the Distance Learning Guide before we continue? I think every commission member should read that, because reading that is also going to contribute to the uniformity in which you do distance learning reviews. I think that'll be a big step forward there. And again, if you have concerns, we want to hear those. We really need those. So please advise if you have contributions. All right. So next we have some international marketing update. And this is international marketing is never easy. It's a relationship business, and it takes a lot of time. So let me reiterate our strategy on international marketing for you, so there's no confusion about why we're doing what we're doing at IACET. IACET, we have the longing, we have the desire, we have the ability, and there seems to be a need throughout the globe for what we do. And at the same time, it's very difficult just to buy a plane ticket and take 4 days, 5, 6 days off work out of the office to go jet across the world to have meetings and do things like that. So what we wanted to do is we needed some type of product, some type of initiative that we could essentially use as a catalyst that would produce some revenue that would allow us to pay our plane ticket and hotel across the globe, to then be able to go over there, set up meetings. And the mechanism, the catalyst that we decided to use to do that were these adult learning seminars. And we've done a number of these. If you go to IACET's website, you can see some of the testimonials for these workshops. I facilitate them at this time. Long term, we would love to have other people facilitate them. For right now, it is cost prohibitive for us to do that. But long term, so what we do is essentially we offer an adult learning seminar, and it's essentially about all the adult learning theory. It's a 2-day teacher education program for adult learners is what it is. And we put that together. We did it in Peru. We've done it in California. We've done it in Boston. We've done it in several places, and we've gotten great reviews. As a matter of fact, Peru, the Católica University there in Lima, will have us back because we sold out their event with a classroom of 40 people, and it was you can see pictures online if you go online to our Facebook side. and so on. So the bottom line is this. So we essentially throw that product out there and try to schedule some of those events to pay the bills. Now, once we get over there, this is what we do. We not only do the adult learning seminar, but when we signed also a memorandum of understanding with the United States Commercial Service. It's a division of the United States Department of Commerce, and they invited us to come to Saudi Arabia for a very, very low price. It's really break even for them. And they invited us to come participate in a vocational education fair where numerous providers who are interested in Western organizations, including credentialing services, to come and exhibit there in Dhahran. And Dhahran, if you're familiar with Saudi Arabia, is where the oil industry is. I had contacts from ATD, and we leveraged those contacts. So I have meetings in addition to the vocational technical fair. There'll be about 300 or 400 people there, different Saudi Arabian companies, organizations who are all interested in what IACET does and being accredited. Now, keep in mind, we said yes, we'll attend this, but here's the beautiful thing. So yes, we have to buy the airfare to go over there, but at the same time, I will do an adult learning seminar in Dubai, which is essentially a $200 air ticket from Saudi Arabia to Dubai. And in theory, we will be able to pay for that whole event with the revenues from the Dubai workshop. So this is how we can develop relationships and it not just suck all the resources out of our reserves. One of the questions that have come in is, are you already traveling to Saudi Arabia for other purposes? Wonder why it's cost prohibitive for others to go. I don't really know who others are. You mean other people or other? I'm not sure why it's. I don't know. That was from Debbie. Debbie, if you want to clarify, would you like to ask your question? Let me unmute you, and you can just ask me, and we can clarify there. Debbie, go ahead. Okay, she's in a meeting and can't talk. You mentioned that you'd be going, and also said, okay, well, I'm going to have to wait till she types out the question. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed. The bottom line is that we were invited to go, and to help pay for that, we will be doing an adult learning workshop in Dubai, as well as meeting with our APs there to talk about a number of different partnership possibilities with them. In addition, we have set up a number of other meetings with the help of Terry LaLaberte, one of our board members, and at the American Society of Safety Engineers, and we will be meeting with a number of different individuals there in Dubai and Abu Dhabi while we're there. And again, the beautiful thing is all that's paid for, or most of it will be paid for, from the revenues from our learning workshops. All right. So I still don't see any more questions there. So so we'll have to come back to that question, Debbie, in just a few minutes. Let's move on. Any other questions on the international updates there? I'm going to give you about 5 seconds, see if there's any other questions, and I'll try to absorb some of the comments that have been made here. Yes, it was a cross trip to Dubai, which essentially paid for it. That's the beautiful thing, so that's why it is. Now, keep in mind, if in the future we would love to leverage more members. Right now, it's cost prohibitive to do that. It's very difficult to. It's $2,000 for a plane ticket, maybe $1,500 if you're lucky. So it's this is a good way to get relationships going, so we can eventually afford to open up other opportunities to our other contingent, without a doubt. But this is not my initiative either. This is something that our board wanted us to do, and something that they backed the whole idea of this up. So it's not contrary to our strategic plan. It's included as a part of our international marketing strategy. All right, so let's go on to U.S. Department of Commerce. Now, this is something that we could go off a long time on this, and I don't want to do that because we have some other great things coming up. So I'm going to take about 5 minutes to discuss this, and I'll tell you where we're at, because just yesterday we have. Yesterday, Mary Ellen Habel and I went to the United States Department of Education and talked with their team of about 10 people about recognition for IACET and earning recognition for IACET for our accreditation program. So we could say that our accreditation program is recognized by the United States Department of Education. Some of you who have been with the organization a long time have essentially, you will know that we considered this, I think back in 2010. A committee was formed, and part of their task was to consider whether or not IACET wanted to pursue U.S. Department of Education recognition. Our leaders this year also said, why aren't we pursuing U.S. Department of Education recognition? So we dug into the records, and we started doing the hard work of doing another analysis and seeing where we were. So there's an 85-page guidelines document that we've reviewed. We went to Washington to get the lowdown on what we would need to do from the USDE staff. And essentially, this is what it comes down to. And I've put this up here in very simple terms so we can discuss this in very high-level terms. But essentially, the advantages of us seeking recognition from the United States Department of Education would be it would make IACET standards stronger. It would make IACET's review process and commission support structure much stronger. It's going to provide a benefit to some members. Now, this is one of the key word there is some. At this juncture, I have not been able to identify an appropriate, a real solid ROI on what it would take to get this recognition. And that's some work that we're going to have to do to research. I'll explain more of that in a minute. But provide IACET with another quality seal. And keep in mind, we cannot just go to the United States Department of Education and say, we want your recognition. There must be a federal hook. In other words, one of our providers, one of our people that we accredit, must need, for some reason, and it just needs to be one reason and one provider, but we have to have one of our providers must need U.S. Department of Education approval and to take advantage, say, for example, of Title IV federal financial aid funding. And that's probably the big thing. If you're going to be eligible for federal financial aid, the organizations have to be accredited by an organization or recognized by an organization recognized by the United States Department of Education. And so we have to find, and right now I have not been able to identify that. Do any of our providers, and we've got about 500 of them, do any of our accredited providers today need approval or need recognition from an organization recognized by the United States Department of Education? What benefit would they derive from us, IACET, having their recognition? We have to be able to clearly and unambiguously declare that before we ever submit an application. That's what they call the federal hook. Somebody has to need their approval for us to be able to be eligible to even apply for that. So it would modestly expand our market, and that is a very subjective, speculative statement. I'm not going to go into it much more than that, but when I say modestly, modestly means modestly. It does not mean greatly expand our market. It would modestly expand our market, and I have reasons behind that, but I can't go in with you today, just because it takes so much time, and we've got more work to do to vet this with our executive committee and board. Now, here are the big disadvantages to U.S. Department of Education. it could make accreditation unattainable for some of IACET's target market. So in other words, there's going to have to be more documentation. There's going to have to be more things that IACET considers in its review process. I'll give you just one example, just one. The United States Department of Education requires of those who it recognizes to not only evaluate, this all revolves around what we call Category 10 right now. You know, Category 10 of the standard is essentially all about evaluation. And essentially, what we have to go a level higher on the evaluation, the overall proof. Not that learning events in and of themselves were evaluated. That would be good, and that's a part of it. But we would have to go a level above that, and we would have to evaluate whether or not the organization is effective in its education and training mission. That means we would have to get student rosters. We would have to know how many students go through programs. We would have to know pass rates. We would have to know completion rates, or provide some type of, ask the provider to provide some documentation to show and document that they were an effective organization. That could be difficult for some of our providers, because some of our providers uniquely train their internal staff or internal employees. And if that's the case, we don't require that level of evaluation right now. So that could be something that could be problematic for providers. So IACET would have to expand its standard to evaluate the overall educational, organizational, and effectiveness of its CET mission. And this is especially important today because the United States Department of Education, keep in mind the recent news about Corinthian colleges, ITT Tech, and all these for-profit schools that sell their courses and then their students get out and can't find jobs. And so what they say is those types of failures are systemic and should have been caught. There should have been issues taken in an accreditation process to address those types of issues. That's why one of the large organizations that was recognized by the independent, I can't remember the name of the entity, they just recently lost their recognition from the United States Department of Education. And it's the Organization of Independent Colleges and Schools, something similar to that. You can look that up very easily. But essentially, that's these extra requirements could raise the cost for compliance for IACET and APs, and the cost may outweigh the benefits for the limited number who could actually use the benefits. So there's a lot of processing left to do on this. It would be real. There will be a lot of discussions about this. There's a couple ways IACET could go about this. Number one, we don't have to do it at all. We just say, forget it, we're not interested. The second way is you go full bore, yes, we do want it, and frankly, we don't really have an ROI to justify that at this time, but that is a direction we could go. I would probably, at this juncture, and nothing has been decided for sure. I haven't even been able to talk to Lori because our meeting was just yesterday. I would imagine that there's a middle ground here. And that middle ground is for us to take what we can and to head in their direction, but not immediately turn our program inside out to meet all of their criteria. I will tell you this, after absorbing 85 pages of their criteria, I can tell you we can benefit from moving their direction just a little bit. You know, all the comments I've made in the past at different meetings about focusing on uniformity. We have to have a very robust training program for our commissioners, for example, if we are to achieve their recognition. Today, we have that once a year, maybe twice on a webinar. We need to greatly improve our ability to implement the standard in a uniform way. It doesn't mean we don't recognize individual subtlety, but it means that we have to be uniform in how we implement the standard. That's incredibly important. So I think what I'm leaning toward right now, as far as just suggesting, is that we take what we can from it and we improve our own processes based on their criteria. But I will tell you, this is a massive project, and it would take probably, if we were aggressive, 2 to 3 years to achieve this. 3 years at the 2 to 3 years at the shortest, 5 years at the longest. And also, too, it would put a lot more pressure on the council this year, because they would have to change, they would have to upgrade the standard to match some of the criteria that they set forth. So essentially, this issue was dropped about back in 2010, 6 years ago now, I guess, maybe 12. I can't remember the exact date, but this issue was dropped because some of these very reasons. We wanted to pick it back up and at least come up with a definitive terminal reason why we should or shouldn't consider this. Lot more there that I could share, but I'm going to leave it at that for now. Are there any questions or comments on U.S. Department of Education recognition for IACET before we move on? All right. You'll hear more about that in the future. So right now what I'd like to do is turn over our presentation to Randy Bowman. Randy Bowman is our Technology Vice President. I'm going to make him the presenter, and he's going to share with you his desktop, and he's going to provide an overview of some of the great new features we've just rolled out. Randy, it's all you. I've made you the presenter, and some of the great new technology features that you need to be aware of. Randy?
Hey, thank you. Hope everyone's doing well. And I'm not going to take too much time here. I just want to go over a few of the features that we have on the website. First, I'm going to start with our ability to search for providers. This was something that was asked for a lot when I first came on, that I heard of, that, hey, we want people to be able to find us on your website. So right here on the website is our Find Accredited Providers, where people can come and search for providers. And first, we do list all the providers that are current and up to date on that page. And then there is the ability to search by several different ways. So, for instance, if we're looking for ABC here, we come and we find our ABC generic company, and we get a nice little snapshot of ABC, how long they've been provided, and someone can click here on Profile and get a nice profile overview of a provider. Now, all this information that you see is available to be updated by you in the portal, and I'm going to show you where to do that so that you can get your profile up to date and really looking the way you want it with the right information. Besides viewing the profile, as you may have seen in today's newsletter, you can also link people directly to our website to a certificate of accreditation for you. This will stay active and allow your students and your learners to know that your accreditation is in good standing. To figure out or to know how to link to this, we're going to log in to the website. Okay, I just logged in. Using our top menu up here, if you go to My Organization, if you haven't been here yet, you'll find this is the place where you can update your profile, all the information that we saw on the profile screen. So you can upload your logo, make sure your name is the way you want it, type in your company description. On the Profile tab, your different training formats, target audiences, and industry served. And over on the Connect tab, your address, phone number, and all of your different social networks, getting all your links there. The more information that you put here, the better your profile looks on the public website if somebody has come to see it. Now, on the General tab of your My Organization, down at the very bottom, we have the directions for how you can link to the certificate. So you just come down here, copy this coding, send that over to your tech team, and have your Verify our IACET accreditation link on your website that will link directly to the certificate. Beside your organization profile, you can also fill in your personal profile. If you click on our drop down here, click on My Profile, you'll be able to fill in your About Me. This will be like your Vita or your biography. Upload a photo of yourself. On the Connect tab, you can put in your social networks so that we can find you. And that becomes really important right now for just kind of internal use for other members. So if we come over to committees, you'll see I have two committees here. I have My Committees and IACET Committees. If we click on the IACET Committees, we're going to see a list of all of the active committees that are available. And so let's say I need to know who is on the Commission Executive Committee. I can click on the little people icon there and view the roster and see who the people are that are on the committee. Now, if they've filled out their all their social networks and stuff, I've come to my committee. I'm going to look at my roster here. You can see that we have our photo and our social network icons so people can connect with me not only via email, but also through any of the different social networks. If you do happen to be on a specific committee, then you're going to have this little committees section, My Committees, and this will list all of the committees that you are currently on. So you can connect with your committee members by clicking the roster icon, or if your committee has uploaded files, you can click on the View Committee Files link, and this is where you'll find working papers, things like I haven't actually uploaded any on this particular one, but things like maybe we're coming up with a meeting. We have some draft documents that we're not ready to publish yet, but we want all the committee members to have access to them. They can be uploaded, and you can download them here for you to view. Minutes, draft reports, any correspondence or letters that may have been sent to committee members. We end up building over time a historical record of all activities of the committee. So Joe already showed you the members only document area, and the only other thing we are doing right now is each and every day the system picks a spotlight provider of the day and sends you an email that says you're the spotlight provider of the day, and we spotlight that provider on our homepage. So the information in your organizational profile is used to create this little spotlight. So on the days you're spotlighted, you might want to update your social media networks to let them know that you are an IACET spotlighted provider for that specific day. So that's kind of
take them to show them the webinars as well on the CET Connection webinars.
All right.
While Randy's
So,
showing you that, we have doubled the number of educational webinars that are available, and it saves us a lot of time in that all the bios that you see and things like that are directly entered by the provider. We proof it all and things like that, but all those photos are from the account profiles.
right.
So so
So
you'll
all those
see.
people, right, right. So if you are a presenter, this is another way to market yourself, is to do one of the webinars, because once again we build you a using the information that you put on your profile, we build you a presenter card as part of the webinar with your social media links, allowing you to market yourself and connect with other professionals in the industry.
These webinars were also designed to be educational. We made them sign an agreement that essentially says you're not going to try to just to sell your wares outright. Certainly there has to be some value exchange, and certainly these providers, some of them are vendors, some of them are not vendors, but some who are vendors are there to provide some educational value on the topic that they're presenting on. Then it at least will expose you to who they are without getting a hard sales pitch. So we've made that made them very much aware of that in several different places. We've had them sign off on and agree to, and so we're really proud to be able to have a really great lineup for offerings, and all these will be recorded as well and available as a value added over time as we continue to stock these presentations up for your benefit. So that's a good thing. Randy?
You know, basically, over the past 3 or 4 months since we've gone live with the AMS, we've worked really hard to make sure that our data is integrated better with our current accreditation management system. And really, our future is going to be to try to use technology to provide you really great value for you through better data integration, a new accreditation management system that's even more tightly integrated with the association management system, so that we maintain our historical documents while giving you a platform that you can use to promote yourself to learners and to the industry, and really bring value to what it means to be an IACET accredited provider.
All right. Is there anything else, Randy? I think we're right at time.
Yeah, I don't think so. Unless there are any questions or anything, you know.
All right. Any questions for Randy? Anyone? We will I'll work toward getting me back to the presenter here. All right. All right. So that was our technology updates, and we have today, since Stuart cannot be with us, I think he's on a site review. We have Tara Orlowski, who's online with us, who has been an important member on the council this year. Tara, would you like to give us an update on briefly? We got about 10 minutes left, and we have to get Dan in as well. Would you like to give us a couple-minute update on the council and their work?
Absolutely. Stu says aloha from Hawaii. He is on a site visit. So Joe kind of gave you an update on the standard. What the council has done, for those of you who have not been part of this before, is every 5 years we go through a process of updating our standard. And that process includes reviewing the questions that have come up from APs, submitting applications or prospective APs, questions of clarity from commissioners, from our webinars. And so we use all that data, as well as look at the current research and trends in instructional design to make sure that the IACET standard is aligning with the current needs of the field. And so we have spent the last just over a year working on going through every category and looking at every element to ensure that the standard that will be presented to the board and ultimately the membership for updating is aligned with the current practices. So after the board reviews it and signs off on it, then there will be a period where it goes out for public comment, where all the members of IACET will get to weigh in on the application. And so that's really important time when you get that email. We really encourage you all to go through it then, because that is the final set of eyes before it goes to the very final review that we will then submit to ANSI. And so we are on track, as Joe mentioned earlier, for having that all done by the end of the year and be able to roll out simultaneously while the standard is under construction. The council works with the commission on making sure that the application is updated so that they align, and the council also works on updating all of the resources and guidance that goes with it. So looking at resource materials for our prospective and current APs to use as they ensure that they are meeting the standard.
Great.
That in 3 minutes.
That was great. That's perfect. Thank you, Tara. We appreciate all that you do for us. All right, Dan Hiltz is here. I think he's here. Dan, let me see if I can find Dan here. I don't know that Dan is here. I don't see Dan, and I can't. If he did call in and he's listening, and you didn't type your number in, I'm not going to be able to see you here. Would Deb? William, I know. Would you like to give an update on where the commission is and what's happening now? I know I caught you at the last minute. I thought Dan would be here. I can unmute you. William, would you like to contribute anything today? And we'll give him a second there. All right. We're not hearing from anybody else on the commission. I know that some of the others, the commission executive committee, doesn't look like I see anyone else here from the except for William and let's see. Just looking down the list here. Martha's here. Hello. Hi, Martha. There you are. Hi, Martha. Go ahead.
I really don't have a comment to make. Catching me totally off guard. I know that Dan's on top of all of this.
He's probably listening.
Oh, but I don't have anything to add. I'm sorry.
Okay, sounds good. Well, Martha, thank you. Appreciate it. Martha, I know you have been focused on, you have been sending us behind the scenes reports on different providers that lack integrity, and I know that that's a big passion of yours to ensure that IACET accredits providers that have integrity and not the fly-by-nights that want to try to slide by. So anyway, I know that's something I know that you're focused on, and we appreciate that focus and you forwarding us all those things so we can keep in mind. All right, so the commission essentially, in Dan's stead here, they will be, I think I had mentioned that the commission is going to be putting together some task forces for the new application. We want to streamline that application, reduce redundancy. There's quite a few ways that we can look at doing that, and you'll be right in the middle of that. In addition, we're going to need a reaccreditation task force. And in addition to that, we're going to put together a group of people. If you want to help us be advised on the new management system, we're going to be pulling some of you in to look at it and get your ideas. We are not going to operate in a vacuum on that. And when we roll that out toward the latter part of this year, you're going to love it. So I'm very confident of that. Anything else? Any other questions? As a matter of fact, if you want to raise your hand at this juncture, we have about 4 minutes left. Thank you for all those of you who are attended. I can stay here until you have had your question answered. Anybody who has questions, maybe something we didn't talk about today, we want to give you the opportunity to ask that question about anything that's happening at IACET. This is for transparency for you, so you can feel good about where we're headed and what we're doing. Take another few moments to listen or to look out for any final questions that you may have today. Committee assignments. Yes, committee assignments have been made for, I think we have all the committee assignments have been posted. And for John, you are on one of those committees, John, and if you haven't received the notice, we may have an email issue. Let me make a note to get back with you here in the next few minutes to confirm your committee, okay? All right, so I'm going to confirm with John his committees. Anybody else? We can talk about committee work at our next meeting, and we'll talk about the charges and one of our new task forces, and we'll look forward to that. We're going to try to do these quarterly, and but of course, anytime between now and then, if you have questions, if you have a concern, we always have an open phone line. For those of you who would like my phone number, you can reach me directly at 703-234-4064. That's 703-234-4064. All right. Yes, Anne-Marie, we will. Yeah, we had changed your address, and everything had been. I think there was only. I will resend to you at your new address if there's something that we've missed. We'll get it to you, and I'll send you a reconfirmation on your committees as well. Yeah, but we did change your address back to, or we did change your address to the one that you preferred. So thank you. All right, if that's no additional questions, you're dismissed. Lori, is there anything you'd like to say?
No, I don't have anything else to say. Thank you guys for your time. Thank you, Joe, for a very informative presentation on this virtual town hall. And if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to Joe. Feel free to reach out to me directly. Reach out to Dan or to Stuart, and we will get your questions answered, because we're so thankful for all the time that you do serve and all the effort and the passion that you bring to this organization. That's what makes us really strong. So thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. Some folks have said they like the virtual town hall concept. Thank you so much. We appreciate that, and hopefully it'll give you an avenue to have your questions answered, and everybody can arrive at the meetings informed and feeling good. So thank you for what you do, and we'll be dismissed. I'll hang around for a few minutes here. If anybody wants to talk after everyone else is gone, we can do that. So thank you all, and have a great day. I'll be on for about another minute if anybody else wants to chat while everybody else is gone. Take care. Yes, it will be recorded. It will be recorded and distributed to all of our folks, all of our leadership and committee chairs. We're not distributing this to our members per se. Although it would be on our YouTube channel, so I don't know. We really don't. Nothing was said today that we wouldn't be proud for the public to know. So I think we will put this on our YouTube channel, although there has been some. We'll evaluate that. Thank you all. Take care. All right. Any others? All right. All right. No one else has chimed in with any additional questions. Thank you for your support. We'll talk to you all soon. Take care.